I thought it was a genius idea to invite a slightly different special guest tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. We haven't got anyone really from the veterinary field tonight.
No. We've got somebody who's instrumental in putting this whole show together.
Do you mean Fat Larry? Because he wrote Zoom, didn't he?
Does he?
Yeah, Fat Larry Band.
Oh, right. Okay. No.
It's not him, though, is it? Not him.
No. I didn't mean Fat Larry. I mean a young lady.
Instrumental in putting the veterinary ramblings together.
Yes, the veterinary ramblings.
Yes, of course. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah, not Bill Gates, not Fat Larry, none of those. No, a young lady who's living in Leeds in Yorkshire, and who graduated fairly well, I think probably a year or 2 years ago, in I think not media studies, in movie production.
Movie production. Wow.
Yeah, absolutely. Which is why we get these super zooms and cuts and all those sorts of things. Yeah, that's it. Yep. So, everybody to enjoy. So, shall we? Oh, she's in the waiting room. Shall we get Alicia Jordan to join us?
Let's get Alicia Jordan, our producer, to join us.
Okay, let's admit.
Admit nothing, Mike. Give nothing away.
No, I won't. I won't admit anything.
Oh.
Alicia.
We are not worthy.
We are not worthy. Alicia. Oh. Alicia, I've just introduced you.
Oh, brilliant.
as our producer. And I had one of those typical Brampton momentary slips. And I couldn't remember what your degree was in.
It was in filmmaking.
But what you said movie production.
I said movie production.
That's just the American version of.
Okay, fair enough. So will you forgive me?
Yes, no problem.
Hi, I'm Mike Brampton.
And my name is Julian Ho.
Welcome to Veterinary Ramblings. You're actually looking very glam tonight, Alicia.
Oh, thank you. Well, normally we have our meetings in the early morning when I'm in full pyjama mode. So
is that why you never use video?
So I thought today I'd, brush my hair.
Bless you.
You're just saying that to hurt us, aren't you?
Yeah.
Well, it's nice hair.
Rub it in. Go on then.
I'm going to put my hat back on.
I'm gonna use my plant to pretend I have hair.
Yeah. We've got hair. We can pretend.
Yeah, absolutely.
All good. So
the menu for you guys tonight. I've got myself a little bottle of bread.
Campo Viejo, very nice.
Oh, Rioja.
Yeah, available in all good supermarkets.
Oh.
Other bottles of red grog are available.
I must
Bigger
say,
bottles.
you guys might find this a little bit upsetting, but I'm actually not that keen on gin. I know.
Okay, that shocked us a bit, actually. Sorry, I don't really know what to say about that. Gosh, we had some guests on who said they'd rather have water that night, but no one's actually come out and said they don't like gin.
I mean, it'd be ridiculous, wouldn't it? Our producer not liking gin.
Never.
That's probably the joke of the series, that one.
Get one in early.
Yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. Excellent.
Well, I must say, it is really strange being on this side of Veterinary Ramblings.
Is it?
I'm quite comfortable sort of in the background editing away. I was surprisingly nervous, actually. I was surprised to be nervous. But, yeah.
You don't come across at all nervous.
Like gin. Absolutely,
You need gin. Gin gives you confidence. Drink in moderation. Other confidence-building drugs are available that are not legal.
We won't talk about them.
We won't talk about them, no. I was just about to say, Alicia, even though you say you're nervous, you're not at all nervous. You've clearly done a lot of public speaking.
I have done a little bit here and there.
Is that your degree?
Well, obviously I did my degree in filmmaking, so that was more, behind the scenes, behind the camera. Whilst I was there, I did also do a bit of acting in sort of some student films, and I got involved with like a theatre company, doing sort of verbatim pieces at like schools and things like that. In fact, Julian, you yourself do a little bit of theatre and radio sort of shows as well, don't you?
Yeah, I did a couple of radio shows during lockdown, but I've been acting since about the age 5. My mother wanted all of us to become actors, so we did drama classes. Got my Lambda Gold when I was 13, 14, I think, and loved it. And really disappointed my mum when I said I wanted to be a vet. Oh, no, if you're going to be a vet, at least be a pretend one like James Herriot.
What I don't understand here is how come you guys were okay with, whenever I used to act up, I used to get a slap around the backside.
Be more convincing than Mike.
Yeah, absolutely.
I must say, in preparation for the show, I tried to Google you both, hoping that having listened to hours and hours of Mike Googling people and finding out all sorts of things, true or otherwise, it's actually really, really difficult.
What are you saying, Alicia?
It's quite a skill. Like, I don't know how you managed to find all of that information, because I tried my best and I couldn't find a thing.
Yeah, right.
Honestly, yeah, it's tough.
Good. I'm pleased.
I was really looking forward to like digging through the archives and finding something hilarious, but it defeated me.
What did you find?
I found a picture of you, Mike, where you look quite unhappy next to one of your magic machines. But then when I sort of looked into about what it was about stuff to do with like heart problems. So I was like, oh, okay, I can see why it might look a little bit unhappy about that. So I can't really poke fun there. And then Julian, absolutely nothing.
This is
with the headphones on from one of the sort of theatre societies, I think, but that was about it.
But Alicia, this is a man who's climbed Mont Blanc.
Wow. Oh.
I've left no cyber trail. Some call me Monsieur Invisible.
So you didn't find out about my knitting skills?
No.
Oh.
That's a shame, because I thought you had a shared interest there.
I tried to learn to knit in lockdown, and it's really difficult. I haven't actually made any real things yet, like a scarf, but as I've been practicing away, living my best old lady life, I've made what's lovingly been sort of called willy socks, which I can show you. If you like, I can share my screen and I will show you my lockdown creation.
Yeah,
I'd
let's
love to
see
see
your willy
your
socks.
lockdown willy sock.
I've not been the best lockdown person, but I'm trying to learn a new skill, and this is the result.
Alicia's desperately here trying to...
So this is practicing my knitting and then giving up after a short amount of time, and the only creation I've been able to make so far.
So for those listeners, without video, there were two sort of roughly asymmetrical leaf-shaped bits of tangled wool, and they were jolly nice too. I like the colours. One's a sort of grey, and the other's sort of grey.
I hope to make a scarf one day, but this is where I'm at the moment.
Yeah, that's good.
Right,
That's good.
Yeah, one day. That's absolutely fine. And if you ever got into trouble with the police and ended up in jail, then probably your life sentence, you'd probably at that rate complete a scarf.
Maybe.
Except, of course, you wouldn't be allowed knitting needles.
No.
Or wool.
You can arm knit. I've been looking into arm knitting as something to be able to make something a little bit quicker. Because you can make like a big blanket in about 40 minutes if you know what you're doing, but the yarn's quite expensive.
Arm knitting?
Yeah, so you just pretend your arms are knitting needles and just do the same process.
Fine till someone knocks at the door.
Yeah, and you're just like a knit monster. Like,
oh, I'm sorry to disturb you, madam.
Maybe when we do a season 2 review, I might have made a scarf by then. We'll see.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
crack on with it.
We can do that. So what actually goes into the production of this show that people listen to and watch?
It's a surprising. I think when you're watching it, you're probably not aware of how much footage there is before we sort of get to the point where it's an hour. Trying to think of the best way to describe it. Really, I just sort of.
Well, I guess Mike and I sit down, don't we, about 8 o'clock of a Monday evening, and then sometime Thursday morning, we turn record off and then say to Alicia, right, it's all yours.
Yeah, sort it out.
But yeah, it's an interesting process. I have to sort of go through. We have our little signals for when I can cut. And then, just go through, listen to it all, pick out the best bits, take out any sort of things that don't quite land or go to plan, and work around some of the technical issues we've had in previous episodes.
Well, that's most of it then.
So that's why Mike ends up saying more stuff than me, because most of mine is either just completely inappropriate or just somehow wrong.
No, it's got nothing to do with that. It's to do with the tonal qualities of my voice and my delivery, and of course the key to great comedy, which is
Timing.
Yes, timing.
I try to be as fair as I can with the edits, so that everyone gets their time. Mostly, obviously, the guest. They always have such interesting stories, and you want to make sure you're giving credit to them and for giving their time to the show. Although one thing I did notice when I was looking through for some bloopers today, Mike, is one part of the process you guys might not be aware of is generally when the clips start, the show hasn't started yet. And I'm just trying to find an example here.
Uh-oh. Not only are we getting glitchy.
Doesn't sound good, does it?
It's something that honestly makes me laugh every single time I get sent rushes. Let me just share my screen with you. When I can find Zoom. There we go.
I'm going to stick her back in the waiting room if she keeps displaying.
So generally, some of the videos will start out like so. And Mike, you never look too excited. And then you'll sort of disappear off for a little bit, and then the show starts. But it always does make me laugh because you're always there, sort of trying to get ready. And it can be quite funny at times.
I think what we should
think. Mike looks as if he's about to say, "No, Mr. Bond, I expect you to die."
Yeah, or no, Your Honour, it wasn't me. I wasn't there. It didn't happen.
So I know that you're sort of getting ready and getting in the mental zone to host, but it does always make me laugh when the first frame is you just sat there like, you should start waving at me. And you're like, hello.
For all those people, the other 5 people that watch the show, that can't see this. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello. All waving at the camera like maniacs.
Had some funny moments throughout season 1. I think you've both come a really long way in terms of, generally sort of, I've forgotten how to talk. In terms of like your interview technique and obviously setting up the cameras. But there was one episode in season 1 where I think we did have some visual issues. I think it was the episode where, Julian, your light was slowly melting throughout.
Oh no, it was the light, wasn't it? It was the because I'd repaired my my light using using glue from a glue gun, and as the light heated up, the glue melted.
I was just watching it sort of because I tend to watch them sort of fighting speed, and I could just see it slowly sinking, coming back up again. And in the same episode, I don't know what was going on in the kitchen there, Mike, but you kept on going sort of iron brew, you'd been tangoed, you'd go really, really orange at points, and then really, really pale, and then really, really orange again.
Brilliant.
Secret signal here. Secret signal. Mike calling a time out here. Please don't tell our listener this. They don't need to know this.
No, I think they do. They need to know all the dirty secrets, do they?
It's part of the fun.
No, I disagree. I was signed up for this evening thinking that, we'd tell the truth of how you, Julian, and I just rock up and just improvise, and the perfect show is recorded within an hour, and it's an hour that goes out.
Very little ends up on the editing floor because it's all used.
Yeah.
The whole hour.
Oh dear. So what else has struck you editing all of this stuff then?
I'd say looking over the season, honestly, it's been a lot of fun just sort of seeing how much fun you guys are having and how happy it's making both you and the guests to sort of get together, especially during the times that we're living in at the moment. I think things like that are really important. And I hope that it's encourage more people to sort of do things that are a bit out of their comfort zone, even if that is just something as simple as using technology that you're not familiar with, to be able to get in touch with people that you want to connect with. And it's been really nice, these sort of unexpected stories that I don't think any of us expected to get from an episode. For example, way back when to episode 3 with Phil, if I remember correctly, seeing his photographs wasn't something we planned or sort of prepared him for.
No, we had no idea.
Yeah, it was so lovely just to see something like that and, be able to share it from our side and hopefully make other people, happy just from looking at these beautiful photographs. So yeah, it's the unexpected stories that I really, really appreciate. And as someone who isn't in the veterinary profession, I feel like I have learned little bits here and there from the CPD, although some of the words do fly over my head.
Cat and dog.
Endoscopy, blah blah.
Tapir.
Or smoked tapir meat. Allegedly the tastiest meat ever.
I will not hear it. Those poor little baby tapirs.
But yeah, I think that's one thing in the editing that has been a bit of a challenge, is obviously not knowing the lingo. Sometimes when it comes to the CPD, I'm like, I don't know whether to cut this or not because I don't actually know what they're talking about. So I'm going to presume, based off the guest's reaction, that it's all going well and keep it in. Some of the sloppy words, I have no idea.
But do you find it a challenge then, Alicia? Because I have to say, from our perspective, looking in and listening to some of the finished results, I would say that you were involved in biology, physiology, medicine, veterinary medicine, because the cuts that you do, and let's face it, we record probably about 4 hours of these shows, and you produce that into a 1-hour show. And although we said those words, we didn't necessarily say them in that order. In the middle.
I think it's all about, because obviously I've got experience with editing and I listen to everything that's there on super speed. And then as a result of that, because you guys do such a good job of always sort of closing the gap, closing the circle, even if you sort of start something at the very beginning and then pick it up right towards the end, I can sort of figure out where those two bits are and just stick them together because I know sort of where they are within the footage.
So
it's like an auditory jigsaw with no picture, isn't it?
It can be, yeah. That's probably a good way to describe it. It's just sort of having all the pieces, chopping them all up into different sections, and then just trying to give it that sort of beginning, middle, end sort of story arc.
So you listen to the show at high speed?
I do, yes.
Do we sound like munchkins?
I tend to go very high pitched. I'll give you a call sort of when I'm in the edit, and I have to sort of mentally brace myself for the fact that you're talking at normal speed.
Actually, could you not just slow us down just a little bit so we've got deeper bass, more masculine?
It sounds really scary when you slow people down. You sound like scary demon people.
Really scary demon people. So you're not far off being a yam yam.
No, not far off at all.
Yeah. Oh, there's Yam Yam lyrics.
Yeah.
A Yam Yam informal, a person from the Black Country in the West Midlands.
That's right.
There's a quote here: "It's bad enough when Yam Yams visit King's Heath." Rather random, isn't it?
Well, yeah.
That's just a general thing.
Well, no,
There's
unless you're
a
from there.
pronunciation. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Hold on. That's it.
Yam yam. Yam yam.
Yam yam. Yeah.
So there's someone with received pronunciation saying yam yam, yam yam. So yam yam is someone from the Black Country. I think we all see that country, really. Yes. What an interesting term yam yam is. My goodness, what a colourful country we come from. Where there are lots of dialectical changes and misogynistic problems with these things. So a yam yam is not a fruit; it's a person. Anyone else? Anyone on Call My Bluff? A yam yam, wonderful yam yam. A yam yam was a sort of horn that you blow to tell everyone that it's breakfast time.
Yeah, but you don't want them in King's Heath.
We don't want them in King's Heath.
No, you don't.
You never have a yam yam in King's Heath.
No, because
they'll catch you for it. They will.
Oh, they will. They will.
You yam yam in King's Heath. Off you go.
Yeah.
Stink sunshine.
Yeah.
And
yeah, we don't want them that far south.
we don't.
It is quite the accent.
I wouldn't know. I wouldn't know, to be honest. God blimey. Whatever you do, don't get me speaking Brummie, because I don't like it. Just because I grew up in the area, it's not really very nice. It's not really a very intelligent accent, is it?
I didn't understand that at all. Can you understand what you're saying?
I was talking to a guy on the bus the other day, and he was saying, what's the matter with you, Julian?
I'm not getting it. What are you saying? I can't understand a word of it.
I'm not going to translate it for you.
Go look at home.
Oh, you feel at home now, do you? Oh, Alicia feels at home. Ah, that's all right then. We'll carry on talking like this, shall we?
So you can get away with saying it's not a very intelligent sounding accent because you come from Yam Yam country.
Not strictly. I come from Birmingham, yeah, but
Birmingham.
not the Black Country. No.
But
I heard something recently that apparently the closest accent to sort of original Shakespearean accent is Birmingham. So if you want to sort of get some of the jokes in some of his,
I've
like that, you're better off saying it in a Brummie accent than
to be or not to be. Well, that's the question, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
So for the slings and arrows of outrageous fortunes, or to take arms and go to see battles, I don't know.
Yeah. Once more unto the breach, dear friends, once more. We'll fill up the gap with our English dead. Yeah.
Out damn spot. And if you do that to the again, I'm getting rid of you.
It's interesting because I think it's more in some of the comedies. I've come across that. And in actual fact, if you do read it in a Brummie accent, then some of that oldie English does almost become natural to the ear.
So it always sort of takes the mickey out of a Brummie accent, but actually, like, it's got a lot of history behind it.
Yeah.
And Shakespeare and Shakespearean history at that, absolutely.
Yeah.
And it does sound better than, bless him, poor old Johnny Gielgud, with his straight, so to Leicester must I run now.
Oh, absolutely.
But my mother's only whistle when I go. It's all very clipped and painful, isn't it?
I feel like Shakespeare would be more accessible if it was all done in a Brummie accent. Well, to some, if you can sort of understand it, I guess.
Yeah.
Well, it was colloquial humour and colloquial
English, wasn't it?
It wasn't for highbrow audiences.
No, not at all.
In the 1500s, they wouldn't have someone standing up saying, "Through the forest have I gone, but Athenian found I none, on whose eyes I might approve this flower's force in stirring love."
Right, now say it in Brummie a little bit quicker.
"Through the forest have I gone, but Athenian found I none, on whose eyes I might approve this flower's force in stirring love, at night and silent. Who is he? weeds of Athens she doth wear, and this is he my master said despise the Athenian maid. And here the maiden, sleeping sound on this dank and dirty ground here. Pretty soul, she durst not lie near this lack love, this kill courtesy. Churl, upon thy eyes I throw all the power this charm doth owe. When thou wakes, let love forbid sleep. Here's a seat on thy eyelids. So wait when I'm gone, for I must now to Oberon.
Much better.
Yes.
Julian, that was absolutely amazing.
I just made it up on the spur of the moment. Was it?
Yeah.
So that was Midsummer Night's Dream Act 2, Scene 3, I think. Anyway, Puck's famous scene.
So to test your memory, do you have a favourite drink of season 1?
Yes.
Oh no, don't do that to me. What is your favourite drink of season?
My favourite drink from season 1 is the Negroni. I do like a nice Negroni. I described it as a soft drink. And indeed, a soft drink it is, because it makes you go all soft.
I know. I've got a favourite drink from series 1.
Go on.
Gin and tonic.
How did I know? I think my favourite drink making section is when you sort of just threw the twizzle stick at everyone, Mike.
I just dropped the twizzle stick.
It's an ancestral twizzle stick, isn't it? You got that
yeah.
from your father.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's your favourite. That was your favourite drink from series 1, was it, Alicia?
Just that was my favourite little drinking section, because you can't plan things like that, but they are amusing.
I think it's quite difficult because obviously it's up till now a lot of our guests have been known to us, but we've known them in various different pigeonholes, and so it's a fascinating thing to talk to them in a different environment, which this is, and to break. We're all out of our comfort zone, and we're all breaking into this new digital communication thing. But there is an empathy, and there is a communication that goes on, which is why and how this whole thing started, which we'll touch on in a moment. But it's interesting to break us all out of that, and then you find other aspects about this person. I've known Phil Lamette as long as Julian has. Julian started working for Phil Lamette, as an example. And Phil has always complimented me on my photography. And then he produces some of the most amazing black and white old film photographs that I've seen for a very, very long time. And that just suddenly, the person that you've known professionally for so long has almost become a mate, and you share all of that stuff. And I'm looking forward to, because I understand that we're actually going to make, well, we said at the time we're going to make some of Phil's photographs available, and I understand that that's actually happening. So that's it. But that's how this started, wasn't it, Julian? This whole thing started because for whatever reason, can you remember why?
I think we were drinking, weren't we? We had a Zoom meeting.
But why? Why did we have a Zoom meeting?
And
I can't remember.
From what I remember, I think you guys had a bit of a chat on Zoom, just a general catch up, and then again, from what I remember, I think you guys just started talking generally about, you know, the state of the industry, Corona and stuff like that, and then sort of CPD. And I think it originally started out as sort of, oh, maybe we should do some online CPD, and then I got my hands on the rushes and was like, let's make a podcast.
we said this is crap CPD, but it's fun.
Yeah, I'm calling another time out here.
Yeah.
I'm calling a time out because actually I don't think it was your fault, Julian, and I'm not sure it was my fault either.
I think it was Alicia's fault.
My fault.
Yes, it was. It was actually, yes, because we were just going to bumble along and do a couple of recorded Zoom shows about capnography, weren't we?
I think that's where it started, wasn't it? Because
One or
the first
two.
couple of episodes we incorporated some of the stuff that I've been putting together for some of my anaesthesia lectures and CPD stuff.
Hmm.
So, what's your excuse, Alicia?
Well, from my perspective, when I first sort of was listening to the first sort of episode or first couple of clips, having looked into sort of podcasts, specifically veterinary podcasts, they can tend to be quite clinical and quite dry. And
That's why we drink gin.
Oh, talking of dry, yes.
Yes, dry,
Good point. Thanks for reminding me. Yes, there we go.
Thanks for that, Alicia. Hang on a second.
So Alicia was saying that our drinks were dry,
Yes.
and so were some podcasts.
yes, so with sort of other veterinary podcasts or some podcasts just in general, they can be kind of a bit flat, a bit dry, and you can sort of listen to them, and unfortunately you can sort of tell that people doing it aren't necessarily, you know, having the most fun they could have. And with you guys, you know, you could tell, throughout the episode, you can always tell how much fun you're having, talking to each other and the guests, having a bit of a laugh. And also, you know, the CPD you're doing is relevant, it is interesting. You know, if I can understand it and get something from it, I'm sure other people can too. So I think that sort of idea of, you know, taking something that could potentially be very clinical, putting it on its head a bit and having some fun with it, it's why not, you know, if it makes some people laugh and have a bit of a giggle when they watch it, that's what it's all about. And
you asked a little while ago how long Julian and I had been working together.
Yeah.
And you sort of, I think you've just hit on some of that, and we've seen it with some of our guests who also present and lecture, who try and bring the subject to life and make it simple, and that's very important, certainly to me, and I think it's an ethos that Julian follows.
Absolutely. Dry knowledge is fine if you're that sort of person who takes in.
There's a time and place for, you know, if you're doing sort of like a lecture where it's more appropriate to be a bit more clinical.
Even then, I think that you can bring, you can give your audience something of yourself and something of your passion. And one of the things that I like to do, I love getting feedback where people say to me that they thought it was complicated, but I've made it very simple and they understand the subject. So Alicia, let me ask you this. This is Veterinary Ramblings, okay, which Julian and I refer to as our show.
Yeah.
What I want to know is, how have you managed to turn this around that you, our guests, are interviewing us?
Don't know. Training.
Okay. And
without us even knowing.
Why am I doing it? I don't know.
Well, we want to hear. I want to particularly hear, Julian, as you've heard through some of the rushes and through every interview we've done, climbed Mont Blanc more than once, yeah. Helicoptered off Mont Blanc because yeah. So what I'd like you to tell us this year is your experiences on the climbing wall, because I understand you've started climbing.
Yes, tell me about this. Tell me.
Yesterday, I went rock climbing for the first time since I was very, very little. And when I was little, I was really good at it. So I was a bit smaller and a bit slimmer. And I just flew up the wall. Next day, just running around doing my normal thing. And today, after going rock climbing for the first time in probably like 10, 15 years, I am tired. I am so tired. I was trying to cut some bread earlier, and I didn't know how many muscles were involved in cutting bread. It really opened my eyes to the basic everyday tasks and the muscles involved in that. When I
Brilliant.
first got back from rock climbing, I had to like open the door, and my arms just like it just doesn't want to do anything. I've been absolutely useless today, but I've really enjoyed it, and it's a really good motivator because there's certain like climbs, certain tracks, and I'm like next week I'm gonna get you. But
Were you bouldering, or were you on a fixed line, top roping? What were you doing?
It's just like a climbing centre with loads of crash mats and things like that. I stuck to the beginner baby tracks with hope to get better. But I did struggle a bit because I'm a bit smaller than some of my friends that came with us. So they're just, these tall men that can just stretch and climb up. And I literally can't reach some of the holds. So I'm there like, I can't reach it. Like, I'm just stuck here, just looking up like, oh shit, trying not to fall.
Well,
yeah,
Julian isn't the tallest person in the room. Julian, how do you cope with reaching?
How do you do it?
well, there are some climbs, although very, very few, but some climbs that are really designed for people 6 foot and above, and all you can do there is
Cry.
do a dino, jump for it. It's
Jump for it.
Jump for it, yeah.
Jump for it.
Yeah.
So you're hanging on a cliff.
Yeah.
And you jump for the next handhold.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, I don't solo. I don't free climb.
I don't know how anyone does that.
Way only.
I can do this without a mask. and for those watching, I'm doing the universal circle around the cranium area, that side of my head.
Yeah.
What?
Meaning you turn around in the air.
Yeah.
But most climbs are as suitable for 5 foot people as they are for 6'5", and
so how
it's
do you
all
reach
about
that next hold?
body positioning. You get your body into a different position. You get higher on the foothold, and you perhaps get sideways. So if you step sideways, you're instantly putting yourself higher because you can get more weight pushing down on the triceps than you can sort of triceps and trapezius, rather than just pushing down on the triceps. So you can move yourself up just by turning around side onto the wall. You develop ways that match your height and your body physique, and that's the brilliant thing about climbing. And you'll probably find that there are some climbs that you'll be able to do better than these tall, lanky guys, because they have to compress to get to a certain position.
There were certain points last night as well where people would be like, oh, just like push off on this leg and just like grab it. But like, because I don't have very good upper body strength at the moment, I literally like, if I miss it just once, then the energy is completely zapped out of me. I'm not going to go for a second time. I'm just going to climb down and have a break because I just can't hold very much weight on my arms, and it's just in my hands at the moment when I'm sort of transitioning my weight. So it's a really good motivator because it makes I want to get a lot stronger so I can do better at it.
Good.
This sounds very positive. It sounds like you're going to go back.
Oh yeah, I'm going to go back. I'm not going to let it beat me, but I have been useless today. I've had lots of naps, lots of coffee, and I've tried to sit as still as possible to avoid further injury.
Well, are you using climbing shoes or trainers?
Yeah, climbing shoes, yeah.
And are they nice and snug?
Very snug. A little too snug, but I've heard that's what you need.
I tend to go quite snug, but when you start off climbing, you tend to just rely on arm strength, and you forget about these little lumps of meat trading on behind you. Now, I'm not a great one to say this because my friends at the climbing centre, when I was an instructor, used to call me Jules footwork hode, with reference to the fact I didn't use my feet too much. But obviously, when you climb the stairs, you use your legs. When you climb anything, your legs should provide most of the impetus. They can hang around on a ledge for hours while you're thinking, what do I do with my arms? Shaking them out. Rather than thinking, So if you're hold with a straight arm rather than hold with a curved arm, and you learn those little hints. Yeah.
Okay, so are you suggesting that I should maybe have a go at this thing?
Definitely, yes. I'm going to get you along to Bowles Rocks or somewhere.
Right. Okay. So let's just recap here some of the words that have gone into my mind and will have gone into our listeners' mind. Fear,
Yeah.
falling, pain, shredded. Yeah.
Fun.
It keeps selling this thing, this climbing thing.
And fun.
So much fun.
It's a challenge.
Have you heard of masochism?
Before I went, it's been so long since I've been climbing that I was like, I'm probably not even going to be able to go anywhere. Like my upper body, I've been in lockdown. I haven't been doing anything but playing video games. Like my body is not a temple, so it was not prepared. So I was just like, am I even going to be able to do anything? But you can do a lot more than you think, and it really is like quite a mental challenge as well. So say you're sort of stuck there, like, where am I going to go? What am I going to do? And then you sort of start to get a bit competitive with yourself, where if you can't quite do one of them, you're like, right, I'm having you. Like,
yeah, I'm not going to be beat. I'm going to do this one. Yeah.
Even if that will be next week.
My favourite climb is John Craven's Willy Warmer, and the crux move is an ammonite. You put your hand on this. It's 165 million year old ammonite to move up. But I was doing this climb called Fandango Left Hand, and I'd done the crux move. I'd done the difficult part. All I needed to do was put my hands on the top, push up, and I was on the top of the crag. And I was out of energy. And so there was like good holds, hand on the top. No, come on, work. No, other hand. No, come on, damn you, work.
It's that point, isn't it, where you've tried a few. I mean, obviously that's probably much more difficult than the climbs I was doing yesterday, but there comes a point where you've tried to do like a certain jump or a reach a few times and your body's just like, no mate, it's time to get off the wall, like I'm done. And you just like come to a point where you just can't really move much other than down.
You're absolutely right. And
for listeners, please tune in on Facebook or watch the video version of this, if only just for that one point where Julian's describing trying to get over the top of the climb, because his facial expressions are fabulous. So listeners, try and watch this on video rather than just listening, although we appreciate you listening anyway.
Yeah.
Other facial expressions are available.
Well, I don't know. I'm beginning to wonder, because I think I've seen about 4 that I've never seen before just there. That was brilliant. Way to go. Sorry, Alicia, I interrupted.
No.
You mentioned, you said I was climbing more difficult things, but climbing is a bit like cycling. And I remember one of the rules when we had Andy on a few weeks back, and you were talking about the rules there. Climbing never gets easier. You just do more difficult stuff.
Oh. No, I'm joking.
And there wouldn't be any point. You just stick to 4 A climbs. I can do this really easily. I'll do another 4 or 5 of these very, very easy climbs. Yeah, that's brilliant. I'll do that. I don't want to use them to climb there, but there we go. You continue to push yourself.
Yeah. As a pal of mine said to me one day in a race, there's always somebody faster than you.
Mm-hmm. Who was that said that?
That was Sean Yates, the yellow jersey holder. We were sitting at the back of the peloton having a conversation. He calls me the doctor.
The doctor. The doctor.
Yeah, the doctor. Well, he was watching. I was involved. I was doing a 5-day race in Sussex, and the last day it was absolutely hammering with rain.
Mm.
And I was riding support for our team leader, so my role was to do what he said or what he asked. And I'd been used up in the first 20 miles.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd clung on in the peloton for as long as I possibly could, and had blown out the back, as the expression is. So the peloton had all ridden off, and I just could not keep up. You know, I'd used all of my available energy for my role, for my team leader in the first 20 miles. And standing on the corner there was Sean Yates. And this Sean is a fabulous character and a real advocate for cycling and supports grassroots cycling, etc. Still does. He coaches. And he was sitting on the corner there, and I hadn't seen him for a little while. And I thought, actually, I've had enough of this. You know, this is in 10 miles' time, the peloton are going to come past here again. So I sort of stopped and pulled up. Went, "Hey up, Sean!" He went, "Bloody hell, it's the doctor. How are you?" So we sort of. He said, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm going to wait for him to come round again."
I like that technique.
It's pissing down with rain. I'm cold. I'm wet. I'm knackered. I've been on this race for 5 days now. You know, this is me talking to a guy who knows all about pain and suffering and rode some of the biggest professional races in the world and carried the yellow jersey, one of the first Brits to ever wear the yellow jersey for a few days. And there's me moaning to him that it's bloody hard, this cycling game, isn't it? Yeah. So I stopped off and had a chat with him and you know, shared some perceived wisdom. And then and one of his top tips that day was stick around for another lap, because then all you've got to do is go back to HQ. So I stuck around for another 20 minutes with him, and he said, "And don't jump in at the front of the peloton; it'll be a bit obvious." Oh, God bless him. Yeah, but Sean would always tell you there's always somebody faster.
There's always someone who can climb better, and in my case, there is always several thousand people who can climb a lot better.
Yeah, quite probably. So for those just listening, Alicia has literally just stood up and walked out.
Run out, I'd say.
Well, yeah, ran out.
Was a bottle empty? That's the other possibility.
Quite possibly.
Yeah, there we go.
Oh, Alicia!
Another bottle. Excellent.
And here's Alicia. Hello.
That bike story makes me think, Mike. This will give you an insight into my fitness level. So we spoke about bikes a lot over the course of Veterinary Ramblings. And obviously, you know, you have quite a lot of experience riding bikes. I don't. And the most recent time I rode a bike was being peer pressured to ride a Boris bike around London. Bear in mind, I grew up in the middle of nowhere. So when I rode my bike around, there was no people, no cars, nothing. Like, just plod along, just fall off, doesn't matter, because you're not in any real danger. And then cut to 10 years later, and I'm there, like, hyperventilating on this Boris bike around London, going uphill with two people that do this all the time because they're London locals. They're like literally riding around in circles around me, being like, "Oh, look, there's the London Eye. Oh, look at that." Meanwhile, I'm like, I cannot look at anything. I'm trying not to get hit by a bus. A bus beat me, which was terrifying. Honestly, like, I'm really glad I did it. It was really fun, but I took a lot of convincing. So I was like, I'm a countryside person. Like, I've never rode a bike in this city before, let alone central London.
I can relate to that.
Terrifying.
Yeah.
So
I'll be honest.
That was the worst. I was just like, why would you do this to me? I'm gonna fall.
I'm gonna die.
Yeah. Oh, it was terrifying.
I used to cycle around central Croydon, which is, I guess, you know, on a busy day, it's not far off what London is now. I started cycling down Storrington, cycling to work. First day I cycled in, I got knocked off by a van.
I would definitely do it again, but I was so scared. I honestly was like, this is how I die. I'm gonna have to call my mom and apologise. I'm sorry, I've been so stupid.
Alicia, you probably were about this far away from death
when that bus beeped me, I was like, nope.
Mike holds finger and thumb up, and they're practically touching. You probably were.
I could still ride a bike at that point, but everyone was like, "Oh no, you'll be fine."
Good for you. Well done, girl.
Well done. Yeah,
I'll
well
have a
done.
drink to you for that. That's
I will do too.
no problem at all. Absolutely. So tell me, Alicia, because you've guided us and worked with us and coached us and helped us greatly with this thing, and I know that we've had a few communications coming into Veterinary Ramblings HQ. You've got this plan that we should do a women's series.
I do. Across the sort of in podcasting in general, from what I've seen, there seems to be a bit of there's definitely not as many women on podcasts as I think there should be. It's not really a 50-50 split. And obviously within your industry, I know you generally tend to have more female vets and vet nurses than male.
Yep.
So why not, give a voice to all these women that are doing such a cracking job, working in, such a heavy industry. And yeah, just for podcasting in general, just, let women's voices be heard a bit more, because that is something within that market at risk of sounding a bit business-minded about it. But, there's a gap there. And I think this is the right place with the right audience that would really appreciate that.
Right. Well, should we do that then, Mike?
Well, why not? Let's do a series of ladies. I've got no problem with that.
Yeah. Okay. We'll do that. Good idea. Thank you very much.
So I just think it's important, especially with it being a more female-dominated industry, then, it should definitely be a 50-50 split for that reason alone, because otherwise you're not giving a big portion of people that work in that industry a voice. And perhaps there's some issues there or things that you guys might not have considered as men that, you might learn a bit more about. And yeah, it's just good for everyone, really, I think, just to get a bit more of an equal platform for people.
As a gentleman of a certain age, are you talking about male privilege here?
Not necessarily.
Mike, come on, let the little lady finish what she was saying. For heaven's sake, come on. I'm sorry, dear. Do carry on. Come on. The rude man. Sorry, Brenda, that was a joke, all right? Okay.
Right. It's a joke. I can hack a joke. It's fine. So when I was at university, I did do a project called Side Effects, which is with the sort of divide in human medicine when it comes to female health issues, specifically to do with hormone disorders, and how they're often underfunded, under-researched, and not really spoke about. For example, as a woman, if you go into A&E with stomach pain, a lot of the times it can get sort of passed off and not really taken seriously until it gets to the peak point. And in the same respect, when people do medical research for women, the sort of test groups generally, again, aren't 50-50 and not taking into account the difference between, men and women's bodies work very differently. And certain medications, for example, when it comes to heart disease, it works very differently for men and women and has to be treated differently. So I've always sort of had a passion for wanting to explore more of that and get a bit more understanding, and that sort of is what pulled me into filmmaking, because I was like, okay, there's all these issues to do with, for example, side effects of contraceptives and general issues to do with like PMS that aren't really spoken about, and people really struggle with that on a day-to-day basis. And there might be in a working environment where they can't talk about that with their peers if they're in a male-dominated environment. So yeah, I think it's important that people do speak about that and are open about any problems that they might be having, whether it's feeling a bit mental because you're due on or something like that. The more people talk about it, the better it is for everyone, really, because then guys aren't embarrassed or sort of left in the dark about what's going on, and women feel more comfortable explaining how they feel and feel like they will be taken seriously,
and not feel as though they're being demeaned or degraded
Or
because
patronise.
of that. Or patronise, even worse.
This is probably not the right statistic, but something ridiculous like 3 times more research into Viagra than there is into the female menstrual cycle.
No, I think you've probably got the stats wrong there. I think it's probably 10 times more research
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Viagra and male erectile dysfunction than there is into
Yeah.
female.
But they still don't know what causes PCOS. Like, there's such a divide there that I think needs a lot of work, and that's why I think it's important when it comes to, especially something like podcasting. Because I think one of our guests mentioned how it's sort of democratizing sort of entertainment, because people can choose what they listen to and choose where they get information from.
That was Anthony Chadwick, I think.
Yeah. This sort of formats, it's important that we get those voices out there, because people will choose to listen to it and be receptive to it, and you never know who's at the other end of the podcast listening and what that sort of chain reaction might be.
Okay, well let's do it.
The majority of industries basically are male dominated, so it'd be interesting to see how the other half live, so to speak.
Actually, I've got an interesting. There's a question, a conundrum that was posed on the radio about 30 odd years ago. I remember these things. I'm sad.
Is this wireless, Julian?
It was the wireless back in those days.
Okay.
Yeah. So here's a scenario. The father is driving his daughter to the Brownies, and they have a car crash. And they're both seriously injured, and they get airlifted to different hospitals. And the girl needs urgent surgical treatment. And the surgeon goes into the operating theatre. The girl is anaesthetised. The surgeon goes into the operating theatre and says, "I can't operate on that girl because that's my daughter." So who's the surgeon? It's interesting, isn't it? It's the girl's mother. But we're so hardwired into thinking a surgeon. It's got to be a man, hasn't it?
That's proper brain thinking.
Now, that's 30 years ago.
Wow.
That was difficult. And we've just proven that 30 years on, not a lot has changed. And that's immediately following a discussion about the female dominance of...
Even me, I wouldn't have been able to clock that for a very long time.
Absolutely. And forgive my language, but that's fucked up, isn't it?
I'm too embarrassed to carry on.
I know. It's hardwired into our system. It's an awful situation. Yeah.
But, I mean, at least we're having conversations like this, and we're aware of situations.
Yeah. And it's not, neither of you are being consciously sexist or not knowing the answer. But society has conditioned us to instantly, subconsciously make assumptions about things. So you're going to see your bank manager. Picture your bank manager. Describe your bank manager to me.
I know you said that, so it's a lady.
But most people, I think, if nothing else, the CPD for today has shown us that there is still a divide. There is still a male-female divide in a profession that is rapidly becoming female dominant. There is still a perception of male dominance within that field, and I say that with all humility. And I think what it's shown is that you mentioned earlier on that the VR, the Veterinary Ramblings, has been on a journey.
Yeah.
And we started off as young, fresh-faced, still bald and old, but young, fresh-faced ramblers, and we're where we are now, which is older, not so fresh-faced ramblers. And so we're on a journey, and the profession is as well, and actually everything is, isn't it? It's all a journey. And so I've done a CPD certificate to show that journey. If I could show you this, here we go. This this is the journey I think we've taken. So it says certificate to prove you know stuff, and this certifies that both of our viewers have paid attention to our non-didactic teaching style.
Back to the important stuff. The CPD
I'm showing you. So I'm showing you, has profited greatly. Blah blah blah. Whoop-de-doo. I've got there. Whoop-de-doo. And what I've got, you see, is the world's largest seagull. Look at this seagull in comparison to the guy in the dinghy below.
Oh, wow.
There's a huge seagull, and that's really symbolised the journey that we're on. and there's an ice axe, and that's to symbolise us anchoring ourselves within that journey. We're keeping you safe, guys. We're keeping you safe on your journey. If you follow Veterinary Ramblings, you're in a nice little secure bubble.
What a wonderful CPD certificate. The Journey of Veterinary Ramblings.
You see? I thought so.
Ramblings. Who would have thought that name?
Yeah. And I wonder, Alicia, if you join us in reflecting on that information.
Of course. Happy
Please,
to reflect.
please join us. For those people listening and not watching, you really do need to download this, because that's a very visual one.
Yeah, we're reflecting. Oh, look, you can't get it. You can't. Sorry,
I can't describe it on audio.
What a journey it's been, though, eh?
What a journey! What a journey!
And by and large, it's thanks to you, Alicia. Thank you.
Yes, thank you,
You're welcome.
Alicia.
Thank you both for keeping me entertained through lockdown.
No, what did she see in that first episode?
Crazy fool. Oh, the mic's still on. Sorry.
No, it's been an absolute blast, and I just hope that everyone out there enjoys it, has a bit of a giggle.
I've got a joke.
We got all out of order, and you're supposed to be the producer here. You better do some editing later.
My night off.
It's your night off.
So I first thought of a joke that I subsequently realised would go down terribly, about a blind man in a pub full of blondes. So I'm not going to tell that joke, because it's not right. It's just not right at all. So instead, I'm going to stick to the same pub a few weeks later, where this landlord looks up to see a duck walking in, and he thinks it's a bit strange. There ain't many ducks in here. And even more strange, the duck walks up to the bar and says, "I'll have a pint of beer and a pack of crisps, please." I said, "What? Pint of beer, pack of crisps, please, any flavour, not fussy." And I says, "You're a duck?" "Yeah, still not fussy about my flavour of crisps, though. Pint of beer, please, pack of crisps. I'm in a hurry, I'm on lunch break." And I says, "Hey, I'm sorry, yeah, of course, there we go, beer and crisps." So yeah, anything, fine. He takes over his table, and the landlord thinks, "Talking duck, that's weird, isn't it?" He goes over, he says, "I'm sorry, we just, please excuse me, we don't get many talking ducks in here." He says, "Well, there we go, you got one now. I don't mean to be rude, but I'm on a lunch break, okay, got to go back at 2 o'clock. He says, "A lunch break? What do you do?" He says, "I'm a plasterer down the road, working on the building site." Yeah, plasterer, look, it's a skilled job, okay, just, I'm sorry, I've only got limited time. Pint of beer, pack of crisps, please, leave me alone." "Okay, sorry. The next day, the duck comes in again, looks at the landlord, squinting, and says, "Pint of beer, pack of crisps, please." And I said, "Just certainly, yeah, there we go. Thanks," the duck, and walks off. And, this happens every day for a week or so. The landlord slowly builds up a bit of a repertoire with the duck, and by the end of the week, he's conversing quite freely with him. And on the Friday, he comes in, "Pint of beer, pack of crisps," and I says, "Certainly. Take your seat, I'll bring them over to you. Thanks very much." He goes over and he says, "Are you still working on that plastering job?" He says, "Yeah, I am." He says, you do a lot of plastering?" "Oh, I do a lot of them, yeah, all over the country." "Are you busy?" He said, "Well, never enough business, is there, really? I'm comfortable for the moment, but not a lot going on next few weeks." And so, "I hope something comes up for you." And funnily enough, on Saturday, a guy comes in wearing a top hat, long red tailcoat, carrying a whip, clearly a ringmaster from a circus. And he comes in and says, "Landlord, a pint of your finest ale and a meal of sausage and mash or something." And the landlord says, "Yes, certainly, coming right up, take a seat." He goes over and he says, "So, are you a circus chap? Are you a ringmaster?" Yes, circus just come into town." He said, "Are you looking for more acts?" He said, "Yeah, always looking for more acts." He said, "I've got a talking duck comes in here every day." He says, "A talking duck? I pay good money for a talking duck. Pass him my way, won't you?" So Monday comes, the duck comes in again, pint of beer, pack of crisps. And I said, "Certainly, I'll come over and have a word with you in a minute." He says, "Yeah, all right, yeah, short time, but, okay." Landlord says, "How are you fixed next week for a job?" He says, "Not a lot going on, to be honest." He says, "Well, I might have a job for you, actually. There's a circus in town." The duck says, "A circus?" He says, "Yeah, a circus. Yeah. What? Let's get this right. Big tent, yeah? Yes. What the fuck do they need a plasterer for?"
That isn't where I thought it was going to go. and for a change, Julian, I actually like that joke.
Well, there we go.
Well done. On that note,
On
as
on
Alicia
that bombshell.
has already said, if you like what we do, just share it, click like, share, and spread it to your friends. And from us tonight, may your dog go with you.
May your dog go with you.
Cheers.
Thanks, Mike. Thanks, Alicia. Thank you, everyone.
And cut!
Alicia, thanks so much. What a great evening. Thank you. Thanks.
Have you enjoyed yourself despite all the stress?
Yeah, I was a bit nervous, but no need to be nervous, really. Still fun.
Brilliant.
You should know us by now.
Exactly.
You've been editing our outtakes and
I was very well prepared, probably the best prepared of all the guests, so I had that on
I
the
think so.
side.
well, as I think I said, how is it that you've managed to turn this into you interviewing us?
Training.
You're very good. You're very, very good.
And again, what a fabulous Wednesday evening.
Yes.
Always fun. Always
Brilliant.
fun.
All right. See you soon.
Yeah.
You crash out, we'll carry on
Bye.
chatting.
Bye.
Bye.
Ta-ta. Bye.
That was great, wasn't it?
Wasn't that fabulous?
Really good.